Welcome to The Pass, where you'll get information related to sports, video games, technology, music, and our all-time favorite ass of the week. What is good, y'all? What's going on? We are doing yet another weekly episode of The Pass. I'm your host, BT. Episode 188 is here. As always, hope everyone's doing well and beautiful on this chill Saturday morning, afternoon. That's when I'm recording. Not sure when you'll be listening in, but there's not a lot, but we're going to chop it up and we're going to make this a very free flow show today. We're gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. As I always start out each week, we do the daily angel number, and since this is episode 188, I'll go ahead and share that number and its meaning for you today. Are you at a point in your life where you feel you are not good enough? This is an uplifting message from your angel number 188 that your best times are coming. The first thing you need to do is change your mindset. Fill your mind with positive thoughts and think progressive things and not retrogressive ones. If your relationship is on the rocks, start working on it to make things better. Have the confidence to face the challenges in your life head on instead of pushing things under the carpet. Get your hands dirty to take things from one level to the other. Angel number 188 is also telling you to be a resilient person. When you fail in one venture, don't hang your boots and give up. Instead, tell yourself you'll live to fight another day. Reevaluate your steps, correct them, then start from zero. Keep on going until you achieve what you had aspired out to be. Be tactful and come up with different ways of doing things. That way, if one doesn't work, you can embark on the other. The angel number 1 and number 88 show you that your achievement is going to be enormous, and so your financial boundaries will grow. The message here is for you to be wise. Don't squander everything and then you'll be left with nothing. Make investments that will grow other investments. Donate to charity because you will be helping someone in need and you will receive more. Angel number 188 is sending you a strong message. The first one is no situation is permanent. You have all you need to take yourself from one level to another. The other message from angelic number 188 is to encourage you to push on. Don't give up no matter what you are facing. Endure the challenges because nothing lasts forever. So this is a very positive thought and a true message of sharing today, as far as knowing that when we fight, by nature, sometimes when things happen to us and we go through life and we hit our challenge or we hit our wall, we want to give up. We want to just throw in the towel, drop it, let it go, and not really put much energy or invest too much of ourselves into it. And in most cases, I know, speaking from personal experience, like any of you who have been keeping up with the podcast have kind of seen a transition or a change as far as the peak points of, I really, I'm dedicated, I'm loving it, excited, ready to do podcasts, and other times where it wasn't even just a burnout phase, it was just I need to really balance me and who I am and what I'm doing with giving you all a product or a brand. And I know I always talk about brand, but it's kind of just something that's staple with me, even with me not being with that business that kind of implemented that through my routine. It's still something that it's still, whether people realize it or not, it's still part of your routine or part of your culture in so many ways. And I mean, just kind of, if you can break your boundaries, you'll grow. And that's just kind of the best way to look at it. So we always, as I share each week, if you are in a crisis, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233, or you can go online at www.thehotline.org. I share this each time. I do have the businesses that will be in the show notes for Taste of Heaven RVA, as well as a PG Clean RVA as well. Those businesses definitely are looking to get business, and I do have my other friend who's doing her work in Illinois. If you want to go back on Instagram or on past podcasts, I will have information there listed. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into the madness that was. Finals are a little over 2 weeks away, if give or take. But we do have what we would call the NBA's definition of the Final Four. And I gotta be honest, I called this, but I didn't call it. I know that my friend Mark, when we did our show together, there was a lot of, I won't say backlash, but there was a lot of conversation as far as Toronto not making the finals, let alone getting far. So for them to lose to Cleveland the way they did said a lot. I'm going this now. Normally, this section I'll go and break down a lot of stuff, but this series we're kind of going to just chop it quick and to the point. Houston did finish off Utah. They lost. Utah was able to get a win in, I believe, was it in Utah? They got a win in Utah. And that kind of shifted the series a little bit, but for the most part, Houston kind of had that series kind of handled from the beginning. New Orleans was able to get a win in New Orleans, and regardless, Golden State was Golden State. Like I said, I mean, it was one of those series. If you go back and remember when I did the predictions with my other co-host for Podcast Every Day in April, I kind of had both series being swept. So, I mean, for both teams to at least put up a fight and get one win said a lot. Same applied in the East with Boston and Philly. Philadelphia's a young team. Like I think everyone's on the wave of saying that, and everyone's kind of tired of hearing that in a sense, but it's still a reality. It's a realistic statement. The Celtics are a pretty young team as well, but they're also, they had a stronger fight and a stronger hunger than Boston did. Than Philadelphia did. The challenge of the series is they need Markelle Fultz at full health. They need Fultz to, I think everyone's positions are off because Fultz really wasn't involved in the playoffs too much. And Ben Simmons kind of had to do everything. And then you had Joel Embiid, who was still fighting his orbital fracture, and that played into the series as well. Finally, the finals of, the deja vu of Toronto and Cleveland win is expected. Toronto quite major bust ass to say the least, and it turned out being a tough situation because not even a couple of days after that loss, they did drop a hammer, if you want to call it such, that Dwayne Casey was fired by Toronto. So I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to go into the next topic because it was talked about in my sports group, and any of y'all who know me knows I don't do well with dancing around topics or ignoring discussions as they're presented. Should Dwayne Casey have been fired? Yes. I'm going to give you a bold statement or a humongous reason as to why, and this is going to really surprise people. They had pieces and tools in place to win. Let's just call a spade a spade. Getting the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Call it what you want. It can be viewed as being relevant. It could be viewed as unimportant. But they had the one seed. Their record with him as coach has increased each year. Great. All great things. As anyone who watches basketball knows this, there are two seasons of basketball. There's the regular season and there's the playoffs. And I know people are like, well, we know that, but why are you sharing it? Here's why. If you can't turn that switch on or you can't play up to the standard to get a win, you will become exposed. Toronto got exposed. Because Toronto got exposed, it can kind of turn into a tumbling effect with the team as well. Because if you look at it, the team is set up to win, but the team is also set up to be challenged. And I say it that way because Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are a great backcourt, but whether people want to realize it or acknowledge it or not, in the playoffs, they're a no-show. That's the quickest and clearest way to put it. Like I said, I'm not going to give this a massive amount of attention because there was a back and forth and a discussion in my sports group, and I love my sports group. Y'all, if y'all listening, I love y'all. But that discussion, I had to come in and just kind of put my foot down and really explain it. As Casey was the target. Casey had 7 years. If you have not 7 years and no finals appearances, blame LeBron or not, that you did what you could, but regular season wins is not going to benefit. Getting coach of the year is not going to benefit. Being potentially, like, if he had at least gotten some all-star head coach nods, then maybe. But no, there was nothing that was shown to give you the green light and saying, yeah, let's keep him. Let's give him a chance. Let's see what we can do. So that's our kind of overall hit for the playoffs. Like I said, I'm going to kind of brush through a couple topics because I do want to give you our information, but I'm also just wanting to make this show kind of flow a little differently today. Game of Zones this week was inappropriate. I'll just leave it at that. If you have not had a chance to look at that video, I would definitely recommend checking out Game of Zones. Game of Zones this week was about the Van Gundy family, or the Van Gundy brothers, but it's almost like they expanded it to a whole new level as far as how many brothers and siblings and cousins were involved and how much complaining that Jeff Van Gundy does as an analyst. Stan Van Gundy is a mediocre coach. I'm just going to put that out there. But the story that they threw was mainly to look at Blake Griffin being a potential trade piece for Detroit and how that trade transpired. That's kind of the condensed version of explaining the story. It is in the show notes and the tab is there. So definitely check that out to get an overall view of the weekly episode, episode 5 of Game of Zones. You will be impressed. I will say that much. Last week, Man City was officially given their title. I mean, given their trophy. They kind of had it anyway, but they went ahead and went through the official clearance and process. And it's kind of a Premier City. It's kind of a Premier League tradition. Premier League kind of runs it as, hey, we're going to make sure you play your game at home. And if you do your part on winning or making a good match or whatever the case may be, we'll go ahead and give out the trophy. The game ended up being a 0-0 draw. It helped Huddersfield because Huddersfield is not relegated, which is a plus. They did get a point from that match. Man City then went through their championship celebration with Premier League, and I'm going to kind of give this short and sweet. Premier League mainly has each person come up to the podium and they all stand in a group, and each person kind of comes up, talk. Well, they didn't really even talk. They just kind of came up, shook hands, talked to each other, whatever, and just was kind of waiting on the podium. And after the last couple of players, once the last player is on the podium, then they pick up the trophy. What makes this story funny and why I'm sharing it a little bit too is one of the guys came to the podium and he was so excited and so hyped. You just saw him constantly jumping. Out of nowhere, the trophy is in front of the players on like a little stand. They put it on the stand before they come to the field. They put the trophy on they had the trophy on the stand, and all of a sudden, while the guy was jumping, you just see the trophy just fall. And it was the greatest moment because of how excited they were. And it was kind of like everybody just looked at the trophy, but then eventually they picked it up and put it back on the stand. And then once the last player gets to the field, then two of the players on the team will pick up the trophy. And then they kind of carry it around. They do like laps around the stadium and give out little merchandise and paraphernalia. So Man City had a good year. Right now, to give a sidebar, Liverpool could possibly get 5th, depending on how matches go this weekend. If Chelsea can win, that could make a huge momentum or shift in standings for the Premier League. So that actually is all I have for sports this week. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not doing anything abnormal and just kind of throwing y'all like aggressive, like, hey, this, boom, boom, boom. Sports was kind of chill this week. There really hasn't been much going on baseball wise, obviously. Soccer kind of came and went. We're waiting on the NBA draft. Football is right now everybody's kind of doing OTAs and getting acclimated with players. I think Ben Roethlisberger had a relationship, is establishing a relationship with his backup quarterback, which we kind of saw that coming. I think PR, when it first happened, it kind of surprised him. Becky Hammond is in position to possibly, she did an interview with the Milwaukee Bucks for their coaching position. And Pau Gasol kind of gave a nod on that. So those are most of the stories that have gone on in the world of sports. I mean, there's really not been much. I know there was a presentation that could possibly be the first time that 4 teams could be could lose 100 games in baseball, and that's the first time that's happened. So, I mean, just that kind of happening, but all in all, it really wasn't a lot going on. So to spin into the stuff, I have the Google article. I'm going to be honest. I really didn't push the story as far as everything that went down with Google. Their keynote was this weekend, or as they call it, the Google I/O keynote. There's big talk about Android. Chrome is getting its appearance. They did, and I actually tried this out today. Gmail has a new look. Mike Murphy, I know I listen to a lot of your shows or a lot of your tidbits. He gave a good tip today. If anyone's using Gmail, there is a new look of Gmail. It's a slight enhancement, but it's kind of like you don't have to use it in a sense. If you go under your settings and you do try new Gmail, you get the new Gmail interface. I think, I'm saying this and I'm talking about the Gmail part of it for a reason, because if you really go back and look at it, like I tried it at the time when it was out, but I really didn't see a lot of people using I tried the inbox, like inbox.google.com. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. They did state that there will be some new YouTube features that are going to be coming. There's a lot of, anytime you do keynotes, you always know that you're guaranteed to get a lot of content. Make sure, because I don't want to skip stuff and not really ignore anything big. Google Assistant will be getting a bit of a facelift, which is never a bad thing. They did Hey Google. I'm glad I don't have any Google devices, because if that had happened, that would have been kind of almost like the Alexa or the Hey Siri fail. So Google Home is getting its attention. I'm trying to see. Like I said, all right, me being fair, because I'm all about transparency and leniency. I'm going to go ahead and do more listening and spinning on the Google story. Next week, I'll give y'all more content. How about that? So if you are a big Twitch person and you watch Twitch from time to time, the big story that broke is Ninja, who's one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, is deciding to minimize his swearing and his use of profanity with his stream. So I have an article here. I'm doing something. I'm kind of going to push it a little bit this week, but it's a method to my madness. But his wife defended his stance on this decision. Now, Jay Ghosty is his wife as well as his manager, media, PR, etc., etc. I'm going to say this about this story. As a streamer, and this is even with me with podcasting, when you're doing something, you have to be considerate of those listening. Like, I want to do sports. I want to do stuff. I can't come on here and use the swear words every episode. But I also know that there are going to be times that that it may change up. In Twitch's community, it could change up, but there's not really a way of controlling or observing the change of the transition. And here's what I mean when I say that. You can't put a title or a term on a stream and say rated E for explicit or rated E for everyone or M for mature. It's not like a video game. It's basically a streamer will do a video, like streamers. So Ninja streams. A lot of parents have not gotten the full. Parents love his stream, loves what he does charity wise, love his donations, etc., etc. But if he's not giving good content, if he's giving good content and he's keeping himself in a professional manner, but he may have other streamers who are on that you can't control what they do or don't say, he can't control that or have any major push or pull over that. So what he's implementing, long story short, he's implementing what's known as a rating system. And it'll kind of present, hey, this is going to be a mild, relaxed stream. It's not going to be as much, profanity. It's not going to be as rude. Kids shouldn't have. It'll be kid friendly, to put it nicely. And I'm all right with that. It's he's also, so part of the article says, when Ninja himself had already began to stop swearing so much on his broadcast, he found himself struggling to enforce a potty mouth rule to some of his teammates, who of course includes celebrities such as Lil Yachty, Drake, and Travis Scott. I mean, they're people that's gonna be who they are. You can't stop their personality. He has also apparently been critical of other streamers such as TSM's Ali Myth Kabani for swearing profusely, because it will put some parents off allowing their kids to watch the content. As such, Ninja decided to introduce a rating system where he would insert presumably an age rating in the title of the stream, so that kids and parents will know the level of language being used and could choose to watch the stream muted. Because in some cases, I mean, trying to control what is or isn't said is a tall order for a streamer. Like, you don't know when you hit record or when you start a stream, you don't know what you're bound to say until you actually go through the stream. And then it comes down to, oh, well, I said that. Okay, let me adjust some things and let me make it a little more user friendly, or I guess you can call it back end friendly, however you want to pin it. Next topic we'll hit. So I mean, I'm not rushing that topic. I'm just kind of saying it as a streamer, me personally streaming, and obviously with me doing podcasting. Like, podcasting is much different. Podcasting, I can throw curse words all over this thing, and as long as I go back and listen, if I throw explicit content, if you see that red sign or that little E to say, yo, you can't, like, if you're gonna listen to this, you might not want to listen to this with your kids around, then it is what it is. So it's just something you got to factor in and look at. So I think the system he's putting in place will work for his platform and for his stream. I just think people need to cool down and like understand Twitch is still kind of in its baby stages of what it's doing. So give it time. What he's doing is going to kind of open their eyes and kind of implement, hey, these are some kid-friendly streamers, or these are going to be the mild streamers, and these are going to be, hey, if you come in the stream, you got to catch what they say and accept it for what it is. So that's kind of how I look at that story. So Twitch, well, speaking of Twitch and gaming in a sense, Capcom is preparing for a full-scale entry into esports business. They're stating that this year would be esports year one. So esports, as many people know, has been going on for quite a few years, but the business side of it is kind of getting its wave or its attention this year. This year is kind of like the big year. Yes, so this article I'll kind of go through because it's not too bad. Yes, the fighting game community is already esports with the various tours and invitational events, but we may only have scratched the surface as of yet. Capcom recently released their quarterly investors relations report, and it seems the company is looking to double down on the esports front. Said report is riddled with references to esports and all new plans to further immerse the company in the emerging form of entertainment. To start, they've recently appointed 2 corporate officers to an electronic sports group. Shigenori Araki was promoted to managing corporate officer, head of esports, just 5 years ago in January of his first year, according to LinkedIn. And Jun Akanuma became the company's deputy head of esports group on April 1st. While electronic sports are already gaining a ton of momentum in many places around the world, Japan is actually a bit behind, in part because of strict gambling laws that make competitive gaming for monetary prizes somewhat difficult. Capcom is setting their sights on expanding esports operation in Japan, specifically as noted in this bit from the IR report. The company has made strategic preparations for a full-scale entry into the esports business in Japan, which includes the establishment of the Capcom Esports Club at the Plaza Capcom Arcade in Kichihoji, or Tokyo. The expressed the turnout and attention for Street Fighter V at last year's Tokyo Game Show is one of the motivators for this new course. All right, and they continue and they just go over other information regarding this. So I'm going to say this, and there are comments that are related to this, and this is something you got to kind of look at. Capcom is in a very, very special state with the Pro Tour, because they do little events that people don't really even hear about or know about. A lot of it is because of Twitch. So anyone who knows me, y'all know I always am like the Twitch promoter. Twitch is kind of like a simple platform to get people the exposure. To add to that, if you can break through the market, the quickest, I won't say the quickest, but the most convenient way to break the market, obviously, is through Japan. Japan's challenge is gambling, because like they just said, they have very strict, their gambling laws and their process of handling how the sport is achieved or tackled is a lot different than, say, basketball, football, baseball. It's not like you can go to an event for Halo and do a fantasy league or do a chip in on, hey, I'm gonna put this much money down on Optic Gaming and going to the finals or winning the championship or whatever. So that's, I know I'm giving Halo as an example, but like Street Fighter, no one expected the game to catapult the way it has. Because if no one, like, you got to also think of it like this. Street Fighter is a little over 2 years old. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Well, to break down, like, just the main games that most people know about, and I'll kind of push the big 5 that I can call off in my head. Street Fighter, Smash, and when I say Smash, I'm talking that Smash 4 and Smash Melee. I'm putting those together. Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom. BlazBlue is one that's getting ready to emerge. BlazBlue, give it a couple years, it'll be in that mix. And I'm sorry, 6, Dragon Ball FighterZ. Those are your 6 that are your heavy hitters. Pushing all of those aside, Street Fighter is kind of like the king, or the one that's got the more consistent attention to it. What helps Street Fighter the most, and it's a similar case with the other games, is Street Fighter is more worldwide. It's a more worldwide discussed game. It's a more worldwide based platform. All of those things come into play when you look at the Street Fighter game and the Street Fighter community. When it comes to tournaments, and then, like I said, I come back with Twitch because you're rarely going to see a Street Fighter match on regular TV. It's just not TV. Regular TV is not ready for that yet, and it's no knock against it. It's just they're not ready. Like we learned that with Evo 2 years straight. They do it again this year, it'll be even worse, but that's another story. So the esports business side, like esports is esports. Everyone who knows esports understands A to Z esports is going to be growing and continue to grow. But if they can tackle and hit the esports business side, it's a wrap. And that's something that's kind of got to be built between other companies, other countries, bigger businesses. Sponsorships obviously are going to be like a major, play a major role into this as well. This is a 2% story, but I have it, so y'all know I'm going to share it because it's just who I am and how I do things. So UPS has revealed their new electric trucks, and they look similar to the movie Cars, if you look at the design. They're going to be working with a vehicle manufacturer called Arrival to pilot fleet 35 electric trucks that have a futuristic look compared to the standard boxy vehicle that we mostly know for UPS. The trucks have a longer range than the other delivery vehicles. They can reach 150 miles on a single charge. As with all electric vehicles, they have zero emissions. The trucks, which UPS will test in Paris and London, have what the company describes as a highly advanced vehicle display, along with additional safety features. Those include a wraparound windshield that give the driver a wider field of view, and advanced driver assistance systems which aim to lower driver fatigue. UPS and Arrival are working together have been working on these trucks since 2016, and the initial fleet should be on the road by the end of the year. The trucks will add UPS's armada of more than 300 electric vehicles and 700 hybrid vehicles across the U.S. They've invested $750 million into this, into alternative fuel and the advanced technologies since 2009. UPS was looking to add 50 electric trucks to its co-design, adding 50 trucks, it co-designed with Workhouse Group to its U.S. fleet for around the same cost as conventionally fueled trucks. It has also ordered 125 of Tesla's semi-trucks. Maybe a really, really quick and simple way of looking at this story. UPS wants you to get your product quicker. And I know that sounded real hood and ratchet, but UPS wants you to get your product in a more timely manner than normal. This is the first step in doing it. Any step is the right step, and I think this step is a helpful step. So I'm looking forward to it. Like it's gonna be interesting when you see them, because a lot of people can probably be confused. But also keep in mind, this is 2018. They're going to be overseas first. So we likely wouldn't see these in the States until probably late 2019, 2020 solid. But UPS is all about innovative technology anyway. They've kind of had like a set in stone way of doing things for a while. So having this kind of be brought to light will be helpful. So all right, I'm going to do this, and then we got Ass of the Week. 2 Ass of the Weeks that were just wow. But I'm gonna do something because I've been figuring out this title for this section or for this part of the podcast. That's my best friend. They do Pass the Aux Cord. I'm a big fan of Big Crit, and he calls it Pass the Aux Cord. I've heard sleepers. I've heard different things. I guess for me to do this as my personal trend, I will call this pass the tunes, or let's pass or ass. As far, I don't know. I'm in limbo about how to look at this. So if you have any ideas, I know that's random, but if you have any ideas on what to call our music section, I normally call it heavy rotation, or as my friends kind of know me to look at it, what's playing in my Apple Music. That might be my option. But yeah, passpodcastbt@gmail.com if you have any ideas or suggestions for that. So right now, my current playlist or my current plays have been a little different, and y'all know I'm gonna tell it like it is. So I was able to listen to Charlie Puth's album, Voice Notes. It's not a bad album. And anyone who knows me will tell you that my listening towards music is a lot different. Going back to last week's albums, there were so many. A lot of them I did not get a full chance to listen to. I did listen to Belly. I listened to John Hopkins a little bit. Plan B was there. Some of these other albums just got added that I didn't even know were part of the queue. Christina Aguilera's album dropped. Did not have a chance to listen to that. It's not on this list, oddly enough. I did listen this week. I listened to Beach House a little bit. Arctic Monkeys. I did listen to DJ Coase. And like I said, I just mentioned Charlie Puth. A friend of mine, she was listening to Todrick Hall's album Forbidden, which is a classic, but still an album. DJ Jazzy Jeff brought out a new album called M3. I actually enjoyed that. Like I was feeling it. Like I was sitting in the car just chilling, listening to some good music. Ace Hood dropped his album called Trust the Process 2, Undefeated, and you gotta have the right ear. You gotta kind of know. You gotta know Ace Hood's story a little bit to an extent to kind of vibe or go with that album. I went into my Michael Jackson bag a little bit this week. Let's see. Trying to see what I haven't given you. I listened to, and I did listen to Skating Polly, actually, a little bit of that. It's an alternative album. Bobby Fino, Arian Foster. I got props, man. I'm giving you credit where it's due. Flamingo and Koval is a pretty good album. Now it could have came out earlier this year, and I just missed it, but I did listen to that album. All right, and since I'm going through my list and it came up, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this, and I'm gonna be as condensed as quick and as condensed and quick as possible, but still give you great feedback on this. For those who were not under a rock, Childish Gambino, Danny Glover brought out Donald Glover brought out This Is America. And if you ever want to realize how much a song can give people opinions or get people's attentions riled up and going, this is going to be the album to do it. Everyone's views and thoughts on how they feel about whether they like the album, dislike the album, etc., are all going to play into whether you're going to listen to or play this album or not. The single. The single has a strong message. That's the quickest and most convenient way to put it. I will say this. We have to stop judging people for who they are and what they do. And I'm being very transparent in saying that because for whatever reason it's like a big thing that he's doing a pro-black video, but the observation is that he's in an interracial relationship. So what? And I'll go into this and then I'll leave it alone. People make their choices and make their decisions on who they are and what they decide to do, but that doesn't mean that you give them grief for their decision or their path. And I think that's what the media always gets wrong, and I don't understand it. I'll never understand it to the day I die. Like I don't get it. I've stopped, and then too, I think part of it is I'm to the point where I've stopped trying to get it, because a decision is exactly what it is. It's a decision. If you choose to make a song, you can either agree to disagree, you can hate the song, you can feel the message is too powerful. I think a lot of it too was a lot of the violence involved was just a huge, oh my God, it's so much violence involved, and I have a big issue with it. But this is the real world. This is America. This is what goes on in the world. So this is my piece on it, and we're gonna move forward. If you listen to the song or you watch the video, watching the video, the best thing to do is to watch it full video and then continuously watch it to see different things. And this is how music is now, and this is how music was before. Random backstory. My roommate and I, we were watching the video for Riri Jackson's Centipede. Every time we look at the video, we find something different. And that video was from the 80s. So let that sink in. That being said, we have my favorite part of the show, and I know y'all probably like, well, dang, you don't went through this flow a little quicker. We changed things up a little bit around here for good reasons, but I guess we'll call this a strange ass of the week, and then we'll give the official ass of the week. Strange ass of the week is that we're in an era where people cannot read analog clocks. So, me being in my techie stage, I got two ways of looking at this. Up on the wall, I know it's 11:47. And I really didn't need to look at my screen to see that. But on my laptop, on my tablet, my phone, I don't have my watch on, but all of my other devices all have the time in digital format. People can't read time. Two, we have hit a stage in life where we spend so much time on our electronic or tech hardware that we can't read time. We can't read time. We can't write. People don't write. People can send an emoji. I said this. I made this reference before. If a resume could be sent in emojis, somebody would try to do it to explain who they are, because people find a way to make every emoji have its own personal identity to who and how they are. Animated GIFs, all of those things. But despite smartphones and technological advances, one object was stood the test of time: the analog clock. Many of us remember about them in schools, between the big hand, little hand, and converting those numbers to multiples of 5. But is the analog clock's life in school slowly ticking away? Some schools in the UK are ditching analog clocks for analog ones because students are struggling to read them. The current generation aren't as good at reading the traditional clock faces as older generations. Telling time is a key part of elementary school curriculum in the U.S., as many kids read the hands on the clock and write out the correct time. I don't really give this too much of an attention because it's, like I said, it's not really an ass of the week, but it's just a weird place that we're in society where it's a possibility they could remove clocks. They could change clocks from analog to digital. I'm not going to give too much of the A to Z details on this, but I'm going to say this. There's a location that I was in, and one of the worst things they could have did was put a clock in that location. Because one, most of the people who were in that facility, you know what, whatever. This is my podcast. I'm going to be straight up with y'all. In jails, jails here, they added analog clocks. Dumbest idea ever. Dumbest decision ever. Most people can't really tell time as it is, but then to make it worse, it makes time go slower for some people because they're looking at the clock every couple of minutes saying, hey, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? But you can't tell time. So if it has not been done already, I would not be surprised if digital clocks have made it there as well. But that being the case, we're in an era where, literally, Androids and iPhones, we're to the point where we just hold our phone to our face and it tells us what time it is. So why should we be surprised? Like I said, this isn't really an ass of the week. This is just kind of a different story. Our official ass of the week this week is, and before I continue, I had an honorable mention. There was a woman who went on a date with someone, and after the date ended, she sent multiple texts to him to the point that it was a stalker status. Whatever date they went on or wherever he took her to, I will never go there. And we'll just leave it at that. It might have been a sunken place. But anywho, and by the way, before I forget, if y'all did notice, and I'm proud of myself that it didn't occur, I avoided Kanye. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I dabbled and danced, even with doing music, went away from it. By default, I will listen to the album when it releases, but this crap that he brought out, the poopity scoop and all, no, it's not even an attention or discussion being made on this podcast about either of those things. So moving forward, Wendell Carter Jr.'s mother is back in the news again. This time she has decided to compare the game of the NCAA basketball to slavery in prison. Kylia Carter, mother of former Duke star Wendell Carter Jr., didn't mince words during an emotional speech to the Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics, in which she compared the current NBA basketball system to slavery in prison. When you remove all of the bling and the bells and the sneakers and all that, you've paid for a child to come to your school to do what you wanted them to do for you for free. And you made a lot of money when he did that. And you've got all these rules in place that say he cannot share any of that. The only other time when labor does not get paid, but yet someone else gets profits, and the labor is black and the profit is white, is in slavery. To be honest with you, she said, it's nauseating. Carter's voice cracked with the height of her words as she explained her concerns with the NCAA. A room full of suits and ties gathered to discuss the recent findings of the Commission on College Basketball, headed by Condoleezza Rice. So they just give a full overall discussion of this. This kind of goes back to the FBI foolishness again. I'm gonna give you this piece of this is gonna be my walk off. We as people forget we have a voice, we have a right to speak on how we feel about things. No problem, no knock, no issue. I'm here for it. I'm good. I'll let you have your moment. We all are entitled to that moment. What I won't allow or what I will not roll with is how we compare things that aren't in the same category or in the same boat. Yes, she brought up the presentations of if you take these things away, this is who they are. But your son decided to go to Duke. There are black universities that have basketball teams. And I maybe I need to keep up and understand basketball a little bit more. And I do, but I'm missing this part. If there are schools that are HBCUs or schools that are predominantly minority, we get a lot of top recruits to go to those schools, then we wouldn't have this problem. But if you have a guy such as a Trae Young, Colin Sexton, other athletes who are deciding to want to go to an Alabama, a Kentucky, a Duke, a Kansas, an Arizona before the madness, UCLA, some people are looking at or choosing these schools because they know you're going to get the exposure. You're not going to get any exposure if you played for North Carolina A&T, unless you're playing against a Duke or against a VCU or against a top-notch school. That's when that attention comes with your title or with your team. So that's also an accountability factor of choosing a school that's going to give you what you're looking for, as well as, to add to it, scholarships. Now, I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up because I want to be fair in looking at this on the full spectrum with this story, because I think it's missed and skipped over with this conversation. Scholarships are an assistance to a student to not having to pay for school. It's not a form of income, obviously, because even with a kid not having to pay to go to school, he has the option of eating on, like that includes most cases your room and board, your food costs, things of that nature. Any other events or activities outside of that, you have to find your way to get an income or get some type of money. Then in most cases it comes from parents. But then that's where the questions and the concerns of the NCAA comes in, because everyone wants to figure out if this player is making this kind of money, how is he able to afford these things that other players can't? And that kind of almost ties back to the infamous Michigan story, the UCLA, like a lot of stories from way back when presented gave this situation more attention. Sorry, I'm fidgeting. But you have to also bring the ideas to the attention and finding out there has to be a solution. Like a lot of times people say, yeah, kids should be paid for going to college. Okay, great idea. Why should we pay them? And what statistics or what proof do you have in that benefiting? If that part isn't done, we're at a standstill. And that's important to this whole process. So I comparing it to slavery was not the best option. So that's why I gave you Ads of the Week. Like I said, the tech story was an honorable mention because I wanted to put that in so bad. Especially, I wish I would go on a date with somebody and they just sitting outside my house waiting. Nope, I'm good. I would probably turn the phone off and go to sleep, knowing me. But anywho, thank y'all for tuning in. I know I'm surprising a lot of people because normally I'm, rushing and talking about a lot of stuff. But this week I'm deciding to do something a little more simple with the show flow for the safety and the sake of my listeners. Because I know a lot of you are probably like, how are you doing a 1.5 hour show? And you're giving information, but you're not really hitting some points that you're kind of running back and forth about. So that's why I decided to kind of go with this approach as far as the length and the format for the show. Again, if you do like the show and you are feeling it and you appreciate it, drop some feedback, passpodcastbt@gmail.com. You can go to passpodcast.com to listen to all the shows. At the bottom of the page where that white random bar is, it's for benefit of the show, believe me. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. We do have the podcast is on Spreaker as well as on Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio. Still waiting for Spotify's response. Looking forward, if I can get on Spotify, y'all, good luck. And most importantly, the microphone that has picked up every bit of random sounds and noises in the background, that is the Blue Yeti microphone. So I hope you all enjoy. I hope you all have a great day, a great week, chill and relax weekend. And until next time, the Paz signing out. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get any information specifically based on the shows, you can go to Spreaker.com/BriTapePodcast or go to www.passpodcast.com. On both of those options, you do have the information related to what topics were talked about, the timestamps for the episode, as well as the specific links related to that specific story. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, the Paz signing out.
でもそんなんじゃダ